Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the 1111 Matrix Code Revealed. As always, I'm your host, Garrick King. Today we have Micah Dink back with us to look at this new information that I have put out here recently. And how you doing today, sir?
I'm well. I am very good. I'm very
awesome.
excited. You know, I shared with one of my fans our first video.
Oh, really?
And because she kept seeing 1111 2222 333 4444 everywhere.
Really?
So I said, you've got to watch this video. I was like, there's this new numerologist. I was like, he's doing it against his will because he didn't even ask for this. But basically, I was like, he's discovered some really cool stuff. She wrote back to me. She said, my brain can't comprehend this right now. This is amazing.
It's a lot of information. It really is truly a lot of information. And this new stuff, I mean, it's getting to the point now where I think it's going to be absolutely difficult, if not impossible, for anyone to refute this information and the connections that are being made here.
Right.
So let's just go ahead. I'll share my screen with you.
Sounds good.
And just do the whole desktop. Okay. So what I've started doing is looking at the Bible and going through and starting decoding just straight up out of the Bible and looking at the Hebrew version and finding, I mean, these connections are just off the chart. So the first word of the Bible in Hebrew, and of course, I don't speak Hebrew. I don't know how to pronounce this word. It's either...
You do.
You do?
It's Bereshit.
Okay, there you go. So it has the value in Gematria of 913. And the translation is in the beginning.
Right.
Now, the connection here, and I just have this little bit of blurb here about the English name of Jesus comes to us from the Greek to the Latin to the English, and that the original name given should have been Yoshua or Yeshua, or in English, Joshua.
Yeshua, yes. Well, originally he was called Emmanuel.
Right.
She said, and your son will be called Emmanuel. And then Yeshua, yeah, that's correct, because the letter J didn't come into existence until 1584. It was the last letter in the alphabet to come in. It even came in after the letter Z. So J didn't exist. So everything was Yeshua.
Correct.
In Greek, it's Iesus.
Yep, that's correct too. So in Hebrew, Joshua, I'm just going to say it as Joshua. So it has,
I can read the Hebrew too. It's Yeshua.
Okay. But it has the value of 391, and 391 is an anagram of 913.
Right.
Literally, the 3 has just jumped to the end.
Right.
And this sort of cycle here kind of takes us back to the phrase that was generated from the number 1111, which is the beginning is the end and the end is the beginning. So what I've done is I've taken the first 37 composite numbers and the prime numbers up to 73.
What do you mean by composite numbers?
Every number that's not a prime number. So 4, 6, 8. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So let's go down here. The 37th prime number is 54. So when you take all of the composite numbers,
the 37th composite number, not prime number.
Yeah, you're right. The 37th composite number is 54. But when you take all of the composite numbers and total them up, you get 1103. And then the prime numbers, starting with 2 up to 73, because we see this connection of the number 37 and 73, or 3773.
Right.
So when you total those, you get 712. And when you subtract 1103, or sorry, 712 from 1103, you get the number 391.
Wow. There's that number 37 again.
Yeah. And what's interesting is when you look at the number 37, which we know is the 12th prime number, and 73 is the 21st prime number. So it's interesting that straight across from 37 is the number 21, which is the
Right.
12th composite number.
Right.
When you combine those two numbers, you get 58. Now, here's where it starts tying in. So Joshua, Yeshua, in Hebrew ordinal has the value of 58. And there's something known as the spread, and the spread is the difference between the standard numeration of a word and the ordinal. So when we have the standard being 391 and the ordinal being 58, when you subtract 58 from 391, we have 333.
Your original number that you kept seeing.
Exactly. The one that started it all. So then Jesus Christ in Greek has the value of 2368.
Right. That's Iis in Greek. It's Iistos Christos.
Yep. And 2368 plus 333 gives us 2701, which is the value given to Genesis 1 in the Hebrew Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Wow.
And of course, we've already talked about this, but when you take 2701 plus its mirror opposite of 1072, you have 3773. And then, of course, we got the 391 down here when we subtracted 712 from 1103. So we're back to the 391 that we saw up here. Now, as you mentioned, looking into pi. I think this is going to blow your mind. So Joshua, Christ, in Hebrew has the value of 754. Now, what this table here is, it's the first 169 digits after the decimal point of pi.
Yeah, because it's 3.141592653558.
Correct. Just reading
Wait,
straight across.
hold on a second. I have a question.
Sure.
It's 3.141592653589. I think it's 5359. I could be mistaken. I don't think that 8 belongs there. I just want to be 100% sure.
Let's just see here. Let's just do a search. Okay, so here we have it.
You're absolutely correct. Sorry, my apologies.
Yep. Okay.
Let's continue.
All righty. So, and the reason this is a 13 by 13 table here is I took that from the number 391 or 913. So 9 and 1 is 10, add 3, you have 13. So using the first 169 digits of pi after the decimal.
Mm-hmm.
So with Joshua, in parentheses, I have Jesus, Christ, equaling 754, look what digits are selected that equal 754. Every single one of them.
What?
Every single one of them. Now, Joshua Christ in Hebrew ordinal has the value of 115. This will come up in just a moment. In Greek ordinal, the cross has the value of 1, 2, 3. And look what we get when we click on 1, 2, 3. The cross.
Holy crap.
And 631 is the 115th prime number. Look what we get when we click on 631. The complete opposite.
Wow.
Now, Lord Jesus Christ.
Explain to me the 754 again.
The 754?
Mm-hmm.
What was your question on it?
Yeah. Just explain that to me again real quick.
So 754 is Joshua Christ in Hebrew. So, or Yeshua Christ. And it has the value of 754.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these digits, the first 169 digits after the decimal equals 754.
Oh my God. Okay.
So literally, it's showing us Christ on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with Lord Jesus Christ in Greek ordinal having the value of 294, look what we get when we click on 294. Across again. And it's the exact same one that I got from the Vedic square out of my numbers way back when. Exact same symbol. Now, when you take 37 to the 73rd power, so this is 37 times 37 times 37, you do that 73 times, you get this astronomically long number here.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge. But when you take all of these digits and separate them by a comma, you can, I'm just going to copy these, go to this summation calculator online, paste it in, hit calculate. It's 115 total digits,
Mm-hmm.
and the sum is 460. Which is where the Hebrew ordinal comes in at 115, and 460 gives us the complete opposite of the 294. Is that not wild?
This is blowing my mind.
Now, keep in mind, so Joshua the Messiah has the value of 115 in Hebrew ordinal. And the 37th semi-prime is 115. The 73rd semi-prime is 218. When you add 115 and 218, we have 333.
What do you mean by semi-prime?
Let's see, I got to look that up. I knew what the definition of semi-prime was, but let's see. Semi-prime. So in mathematics, a semi-prime is a natural number that is the product of exactly two prime numbers.
Gotcha. Are they following numbers?
The two primes and the product may equal each other. So the semi-primes include the squares of prime numbers because there are infinitely many prime numbers. There are also infinitely many semi-primes.
Okay.
So with that being said, so we have 333. So when you take this 37th semi-prime, 115, and the 73rd semi-prime, 218, and Jesus Christ equaling 2368, add those together, you have 2701, which takes us back to Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Have you been on Tinfoil Hat yet?
Yes, but not with this information. This is all stuff that I found out after being in there, which it really sucks because every time I go on a show, it's like I present information and then new information comes out and I'm like, oh man, like I wish I could have gotten that on.
That was my biggest problem. I have my intro to astrotheology video that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then every couple of weeks I add a new slide or two. So I have to record a new video so that I can get all the information in for people.
Right. Now I have a theory that I want to run by you before I go any further, because when I tell you this theory, and then you'll start to see where I'm coming up with this theory from this information. So as I showed you earlier or way back, the number 2058, the year 2058, that this seems to be pointing to some sort of event taking place in that year. My theory is that we're going to possibly have a massive solar storm, solar flare that is going to wipe out everything. And this, with this sun being the Son of God, SON/SUN, this would literally be the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So, because 2058 came up in the very beginning of all of this, but as I've been progressing on, it hasn't reared its head until just here recently. So what I've done is I've taken the Lord's Prayer, and it's just interesting that you can put it into this symbol, letter by letter perfectly. It forms a cross.
Mm-hmm.
And I've color coded each section. So you can see if there's 6 different sections here. Inside each section is 49 individual characters or squares. And 6 times 49 is 294, the equivalent of Lord Jesus Christ in Greek ordinal. Now, still looking at it, what I've taken is the inner portion of these sections, and there's 25 individual characters or squares inside this. And again, being 6 different sections, 25 times 6 is 150, and there are 150 Psalms in the Bible. The outer portion in the lighter gray, there's 24. And 24 times 6 is the number 144, which is the equivalent of Lords of Joshua the Messiah, or Lord Jesus Christ in Hebrew ordinal, has the value of 144. Now, when you take the numbers 3 and 7 and place them in the cross like this, 3 times 49 times 6 is 882, and 7 times 49 times 6 is 2058. The combining of those two numbers, 2058 plus 882, is 2,940, or an encoded 294. Now, 2,940 in Gematria using the Jewish cipher gives us numerology, Elohim consciousness, resurrecting of the dead, the stock market has crashed, and eclipse apocalypse. Now, the stock market has crashed is interesting because when I originally came across the number 2058, it was from an article called Apocalypse 2058. And the geophysicist Didier Sornay was predicting that something was going to happen in 2058, and he got this prediction from the Dow Jones Index. Again, referring back to the stock market. Also, we're in a 19-year cycle of having summer solstice solar eclipses. The very last one that we'll have is in 2058. We won't have another one for nearly 200 years. I think it's like around 180 some odd years, but it's close to 200 years. Interesting, the last one would be in 2058. So, moving forward, I've taken an 11 by 11 multiplication table, and the stuff that you can get out of this it's just insane. So we know Lord Jesus Christ equaling 144. What I've done is I've selected numbers here that all equal 144. And you're going to see how these move around on this multiplication table as I select these and start going down the list. So the very first one we get, and the reason I have 36 shaded is because 36 never gets selected. The middle number never gets selected in this sequence here. So the very first one gives us the cross, just like we see here in red. And that's why I have it blacked out in the center, because it's not selected. Now, as I move down, what it's going to do is it's going to spread out to the edges. And every single time it equals 144. So now we're out to the edge. Now it's going to move around the board to the corners. Every single time equaling 144.
Oh my God.
It's going to keep going back to its original spot where it's spread out. It'll move back to the corners, and now it'll start to move in. and we have the opposite of the cross, just like we saw a moment ago with the with pi over here. And I'm going to have to zoom this out just a little bit. So as it continues to move, now what it's going to do is it's going to move over, down, over into a spiral before it finally comes to its resting spot. So it's going to keep moving. And that's the end. So it's touched every single number on the board except 36 in the middle. Every single time it equals 144. Now, this is where it's going to start getting crazy. So the final resting spot is 1224 and 3672. In Jewish Gematria, when you combine those numbers, 12 and 24, into one number, we get the phrases, the world on fire. Let us start from the beginning. It's not over. The heaven and the earth. Utility blackout, which is exactly what we would have if there was a solar flare. And it's time to leave. Now, the bottom numbers, 36 and 72, has this one bizarre phrase. The end of all things is near. Therefore, be alert and of sober mind so that you may pray. Now, looking at where they stopped, this is what's really interesting, and you can see how deeply encoded this is. Looking at the numbers, so the first one's 12, it reduces to 3. Then we have 24, reduces to 6. 72 reduces to 9, and 36 reduces to 9. So when you draw lines, it's literally going 3, 6, 9, 9, 6, 3. Giving us, oh, let's back up. Did not mean to do that. So you can see how it lines up. Mm-hmm. Now, when I saw this, I was like, I'm just thinking like, okay, what am I supposed to do with, like, what is this symbol? Like, what is it? So I thought, am I supposed to rotate it possibly 144 degrees? So I did. It kind of looks like an E, but it's not level. So I thought, okay, what does it need to be level? And the answer to that is 135, which is interesting because that's the same number that we had to rotate the sigil of Saturn to get it to be the right angle. Now, as you can see here, I have E1 and E2. If we recreate this symbol in its original, the way it was originally on the screen, over here, just like that, it gives us the value of 1650. 1650 produces the phrases, it's time for us to leave. And the final code to break Christ's second coming is the Alpha and Omega. And the second one here, E2, is the E when it's been rotated. And it gives us the value of 760. 760 gives us the phrases consciousness, secret code key, and ascension guardians. Now, as you can see, I have the symbol for the sun here that I showed you that I originally figured out when I started going through the first number. So the very first number that was generated by this 1111 matrix code was 371074. And the second number, after adding 369963 to it, is 741037, the near mirror opposite. When I recreate this symbol over here as the sun, we get the value 1440, or it encoded 144. Here I have everything. And you would think that I'm saying that's going to be everything that's on the board. It's not. It's everything around it. 1440. Now, the swastika, before it was demonized and made into a terrible symbol, it was known as a symbol of hope, good luck, good fortune, but it's also been used as a symbol for the sun.
The swastika actually goes back 17,000 years at least. We found a swastika in Ukraine. I talked about this in my work. The swastika, actually, where it originally comes from, Garrick, is astrology. If you take I don't know if you know this, or if you heard this from me speaking about it, but if you take Polaris, the North Star, and you take a picture of the Big Dipper on the solstices and the equinoxes, it forms a swastika.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's how far back it goes.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. But what are the chances that reproducing the swastika over here on this 1111 multiplication table would also have the same value of 1440? And not only...
What if you mirror image it? Have you tried doing that?
Yep. It's 1440.
Jesus Christ, you've thought of everything. I am so impressed by your work, honestly. There's so few people in the world, in my world, that blow my mind. Usually I'm kind of explaining things in astrology and breaking down the Bible and freaking everyone out. When I see this, when I see you bringing this to me, I want to run to church, hide from you.
Well, now remember, the thing that we got down here was the final code to break Christ's second coming is the Alpha and Omega.
Right.
When we recreate the A for Alpha over here, just like this, so a line down and a loop around, just like an A, it also has the value of 1440.
Wow.
Now, this is the scary part. My name keeps coming up in this. As I already talked about, Garrick King decodes the God matrix, has the value of 1111. In God, Garrick King is the chosen mathematician, has the value of 1111. And now, 1440, we get Garrick King reveals the hand of God. And also sign of times reoccurring numbers, which is exactly what we're dealing with, reoccurring numbers. And a solar flare could essentially be looked at as the hand of God, reaching out and smacking the shit out of us like Will Smith did to Chris Rock. So I wanted to look, that's why I have the hand of God underlined. I wanted to see what the value of that was just on its own. It's 283. And 283 gives us the hand of God and end times. So then I looked up solar flare. Solar flare gives us the value of 353, which reduces to the number 11. But also gives us the phrases solar flare, God's a math code, and darkened skies. Again, something we would have during a solar flare.
Wow.
And it's like, I mean, I literally get chills sometimes when this stuff comes up like this, and it's freaking me out when my name, keeps adding into this.
Yeah. Now,
this is weird too. So, as we saw from the first number, 144, the first iteration of it over here on this table, we got the cross. And then towards the middle here, we got the opposite.
Right.
And again, I don't know why I did this other than the fact that I had this in red up here, I just made these in red, but I blacked it out because 36 is never selected. But when you combine these two, like that, well, it's wanting to snap, but anyway, it does fit in there like a puzzle. I looked at this and I thought, why does this look like it means something? So I went to Google and I typed in black square inside red square. And this is a warning flag system. It's U.S. Maritime Warning Flag System, a red square flag with a black square taking up the middle ninth. Ninth is important because the number that never gets selected over here is 3 and 6, which reduces to 9.
Right.
So the middle ninth of the flag is used to indicate a storm warning. So is this literally telling us, it's warning us of this possible solar storm? And again, it's the exact same thing that I have right here. I mean, they have the corners rounded, but I mean, it's essentially the same thing. I'm just like, what? I mean, I literally was like, how? Like, how is that possible? Like, I couldn't figure it, like, how I came to the same thing just using the same colors.
Right.
Now, the last thing I want to show you is what I just basically released yesterday. And have you ever heard of the fine structure constant?
I have not.
Okay. So it's essentially, it's the number 137. And basically this number has just, it's a number that physicists are just like obsessed with. And the number basically, I'm not going to read all of this to you, but it's the approximate denominator, 137, I'm sorry, is the approximate denominator of the fine structure constant, which is 1 over 137.035999913. And it measures the strength of the electromagnetic force that controls how charged elementary particles such as the electron and muon interact with photons of light, according to the National Institute of Standards and Technology.
Wow. Okay.
Now, the fine structure constant is one of the key physical constants of the universe. And it says this immutable number determines how stars burn, how chemistry happens, and even whether atoms exist at all. And they state that one small change to this, one small percentage change to it, could literally change everything. It says here that the fine structure constant determines the distance between an atom's spectral lines, which are the atom's DNA. And so it is one of those numbers that is at the root of the universe. If it were any other value, then the structure of matter would be very different. And so us too. The fine structure constant is denoted by the Greek letter alpha, which ties us back to the final code to break Christ's second coming is the Alpha and Omega. It says what's special about alpha is that it's regarded as the best example of a pure number, one that doesn't need units. It actually combines 3 of nature's fundamental constants: the speed of light, the electric charge carried by 1 electron, and the Planck's constant. It also affects the details of light emitted by atoms. Scientists have been able to observe a pattern of shifts of light coming from atoms called fine structure, which gives the constant its name. This fine structure has been seen in sunlight and the light coming from other stars.
Wow.
Now, the fine structure constant, just that name, in Gematria gives the value of 1342. 1342 produces the phrases download complete, astral time travel, the ability to see spirits, Jesus number, consciousness and energy, knowledge of sciences, and I am God, heaven, earth, creation. Now, 137, that's the fine structure constant, is the 33rd prime number, which is the supposed age of Jesus at the time of crucifixion. Now, I find it interesting, too, that when you look online, you'll find many people saying that Christ died on April 3rd, AD 33, which is 333. Now, here's what's interesting. When you take fine structure constant, 1342, and add its mirror opposite of 2431, you get 3773. What are the chances? And then when you look at this phrase from Psalms 19 in Hebrew, the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament showeth his handiwork. In Hebrew, it has the value of 1781. When you take the number 137, you can arrange it in this same formation as the Star of David or the Star of Creation. There's 13 different iterations of the number 137 here. And 137 times 13 is 1781. Also, when you look at this phrase from Genesis 1:4, and God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness, we get the value of 1776. This word right here, you zoom in on it in red, is the word light. This last word is darkness, and it has the value of 333. But this word light is the 37th word in the Hebrew Bible, and the first letter is the 137th letter. All of this totaled up equals 1776. And Jesus, in Greek, has the value of 888. And when you take 888 plus its mirror opposite of 888,
you get 1776.
You get 1776. Now, $37 times 73 is 2701, the same number we get from Genesis 1 of the Hebrew Bible. 2701 plus 1072, its mirror opposite, as we've already talked about, is 3773. And 2701 times 37 is 99937. When you add this together, it reduces to the number 37. Now, what if I told you that the number 37 was literally written in the stars? Literally. In Orion, the constellation of Orion, there is a star cluster called NGC 2169. It is nicknamed the 37 cluster. Why? Because it looks just like the number 37.
Wow.
Now, this cluster is composed of two components, colander 38 and colander 83, both being open clusters. It's interesting to me that they chose the numbers 38 and 83, numbers that are mirror opposites of one another, but numbers that also reduce to 11. This is an encoded 1111. You would think they would do it in sequential order. Like, why not call it colander 37 and colander 38 since they're next to one another or appear next to one another in the sky? Or why not call it colander 38 and colander 39? No, it's 38 and 83. Now, 2169 in Hebrew, or not Hebrew, but in Gematria, using the Jewish cipher, gives us wisdom and knowledge, awaken awareness, and the matrix is mentioned in the Bible 5 times. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm sure it's not going to use the actual word matrix. It should probably use something else. But then when you combine the numbers 38 and 83 into one number, we get the phrase, the pyramids were built with alien technology. And interesting that Orion's belt is in direct alignment with the pyramids of Giza. And we get this same phrase. And again, having the number 37 literally written in the sky. And this code, this 1111 matrix code, all the numbers are going up and down by 37. This is so intricately connected in the most bizarre way. Now, one of my subscribers on YouTube left a comment saying, why do you think we're being revealed this information if there's basically nothing that we can do about a solar flare? And my comment back to her was, well, I can think of 2 contenders as to why we're getting this information. Either one, it's so that we can make peace with what's going to happen, so that we're not just suddenly, sideswiped out of nowhere by this event. Or 2, an external source will kick in or jump in and take possibly some of us off the planet, which is why we're getting the phrases, it's time to leave. Now, I also, made the comment that this is possibly why they're building these domes, these deep underground military bases, because they're aware of something going to happen. And they'll take some underground. But obviously, they're not going to be able to take everybody. Now, what's interesting is I think I'm being shadow banned on YouTube because her comment and my reply does not show up on the video at all. Even though I can clearly see her comment on the backside. And when I replied to her, she could see my reply. But it's not showing up on the front side in the comments on the video at all. So they're blocking it for whatever reason. Which leads me to believe that I may be onto something with this theory.
I've got no words. I'm never like that. This is amazing.
It's a lot. It is a lot to take in. But that is basically where I'm at now at this point. Now, another reason I think I'm being shadow banned or someone is blocking my comments or they're blocking replies is the people that you asked or you showed me to reach out to and try to get on some of their shows. I either, like in the comments, it shows that they've never read it, or they read it and replied, I replied back, and have gotten 0 responses.
Wow.
And I find that bizarre. But many of them show that the comment has never even been seen. Because I think on Twitter, they put like a little check mark when you've sent it, and then there's a double check mark when it's been read. And they all have a single check mark. Unless they did reply, and then I replied back, and then never got a reply back from them. So I think somewhere it's getting blocked, someone's intercepting. I don't know. Which if they're going to go to that length, why not just take my channel down altogether? Mm-hmm. Unless they don't see me as being that big of a threat, but still are preventing me from trying to get the information out there. Now, another thing that I've noticed too is the views. Even though, and people have left comments saying like, I can't believe that this video's only had this many views. Like, this is mind-blowing information. How come more people aren't seeing it? And that's a good question. And it's like, ever since I did the video on how this ties into 9/11, views just went straight down. They're still up there, but they're not like they were. And the fact that my comment, especially the one with that one subscriber, not even showing up, mm-hmm. is bizarre to me.
Wow.
But when I talk about a solar flare, literally, when you think about it, the sun in the sky, and I agree with you totally that it's referring, like the Son of God, it's referring to the sun in the sky. And the second coming could literally be a solar flare leaping from the sun to the earth. And it would take, I think I looked it up, it would take roughly 8 minutes for a solar flare.
8-9 minutes, yeah. Assuming it's going at the speed of light, though.
Right. But they said it could last anywhere from a couple of minutes to a couple of hours. And this is kind of interesting. I don't know, have you ever seen the movie Knowing with Nicolas Cage?
No, but people keep trying to get me to watch it.
You really should, especially after this information, because there's so much encoded in this movie. First of all, it came out in 2009, the very same year I started seeing 333. Also, 2009 reduces to the number 11. The movie is exactly 121 minutes long, the equivalent of 11 times 11. The movie is about this girl who's hearing these whispering voices in her head. She doesn't know where they're coming from. She gets this idea for her classmates to do a, why am I going blank on this? A time capsule. And this is in 1959. And her thought was that everyone would draw a picture of what they thought the future was going to look like. Well, she keeps hearing these voices in her head, and her picture, it's actually multiple pages, but she's written nothing but numbers down just over and over and over and over and over. Her teacher comes to take her paper. She sees what she's done, and she's like, Lucinda, this was your idea. She said it like, why are you doing this? This was your idea to do this. But they put it in the time capsule. Nicolas Cage's son gets it 50 years later, because the children in the school, 50 years later, they dig it up, and then every child gets one of the drawings. He just happens to get the one that has all these numbers on it. His dad, he wasn't supposed to take it home, but he did. His dad, Nicolas Cage, is looking at it one night, and he starts figuring out that these numbers are predicting not only I think it's the location and the number of people that are going to die during these tragic events.
Yeah, there's a similar movie called The Mothman Prophecies that does the same thing.
Yeah. Now, what I find interesting is, even though this date is in the middle of all these numbers on these papers, the first one he decodes is 9/11.
Really?
Yeah. And the final event, it has the number 33 at the end of it, but he teams up with Lucinda's daughter. Lucinda's already passed away by the time, all of this is taking place. He teams up with her daughter. She's looking at it, and she says, you know what? I don't think that is a 33. She goes, my daughter does the same thing. She sometimes writes her letters backwards. I think those are E's. They go back to Lucinda's house. They're searching for clues. I think they happen to lift up her bed. And on the wooden, frame of the bed, she has written everyone else over and over and over and over and over. That's what the double E's stand for. Everyone else. The final tragedy of this movie is a solar flare. Now, there's a tie-in, and this is why I said that there may be an external source possibly going to step in and help out. There is an alien connection in this film. The whispering voices are coming from these beings that look like, when you first see them in the movie, they look like a bunch of like 80s goth people dressed all in black. Their hair is white. Their faces are gaunt. But at the very end, they turn into these light beings. And they're there to take the ones who heard the call off the planet. And his son, Nicolas Cage's son, and Lucinda's granddaughter is one of those people. The very end of the movie is a scene where they have dropped them off on this planet. And like you can see what looks like, I don't know, like tall grass or something blowing. Camera pans up. You see a planet off in the sky in the distance, and you see the ship lifting off. And then they turn and they're running through this field, and you see other ships lifting off. What they're running to is a single tree in the middle of this field, a single tree. And it's literally like they're saying, this is the tree of knowledge of good and evil, or the tree of life, or whatever. And the two children are running towards it. And that's the end of the film. But these number connections, I was just like, man, this feels so much like that. And are we literally being given a warning, as we saw here with this flag, that this is a warning of something about to happen? And as I was telling my subscriber, I said, there's really no way of knowing this without having any hard evidence from our government. But they're not going to say anything. They're certainly not going to say anything now. Why create the panic and the pandemonium now? They're going to wait till the last minute. And by that time, it's going to be too little, too late. And if they do take people underground, I guarantee you it's going to be a select few. There'll be doctors, scientists, people of quote unquote merit, not just the average Joe running around. And probably, most certainly, no one over a certain age either. Because, why would they take someone who's 80 years old, who's possibly going to die soon, underground? What benefit will, and I know that sounds terrible to say it that way, but what benefit is that person going to have unless they're a scientist or a doctor or something of that nature?
You have outdone yourself, my friend.
Do what?
You have outdone yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting the alpha, that phrase, the final code to break, Christ's second coming, is the alpha and omega, and the fine structure constant being denoted as the alpha. Now it's determining what is the omega, other than the fact that omega is quite simply the end. It's the last letter of the Greek alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, alpha is the beginning, omega is the end. And it ties back into, as we saw with the Rotos or Sator square. When it was put into this cross, same symbol for the sun, when we have our Father, with the two A's and the two O's left over, we literally have the beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. So it's,
I can't wait to see where you go with this next.
I know. Because every time, and what's interesting, what is so interesting to me is when I feel like I'm getting to a point where nothing, I'm not coming across anything. I'll literally go to bed.
You're literally not. I can't explain this any other way. You're getting downloads, is what you're getting to get this information.
It's so strange that you say that, because there have been times when I have gone to bed at night, or even in the morning, just as I'm waking up, I'll be laying there with my eyes closed, and I'm seeing what looks like, I don't know, sheets of paper moving in front of my face, stopping for a split second, and then moving off to the side, and then another one comes. It stops for a split second and moves, and then and it's just like over and over. Like all of these pages are just going in front of my face. It's stopping for a second for my subconscious to internally take it in, and then it moves away. And I can't explain it. And it doesn't stop long enough for me to recall what I'm looking at. That's why I'm saying it's almost as if though I'm taking it in subconsciously.
Right.
But that's happened numerous times. And literally this, with the 137, the fine structure constant, I literally just came across this over the weekend. And one of my good friends over in the UK, Jared Walters, he tagged me in a Facebook post for the exact same thing, the fine structure constant. And I was like, man, talk about synchronicity.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any more synchronistic than that.
Wow, brother, this has been great.
It's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. Send me this link when you have it uploaded.
Yeah, definitely. I will.
I know somebody that'll watch it.
I mean, I keep getting, like, literally, I'm not joking. This is the other thing I can't explain. I have literally now, it's up to 12,191 emails. Literal emails. Which makes no sense to me how I have that many emails coming in to my 1111 Matrix Code email account, yet the views are showing very small.
Right.
It's like, what is going on? Either someone's, there's no way. It would take my entire life to answer that many emails. I've gone through, I've tried answering, a few of them, but they're all, the ones at least that I've gone through so far have all been unique. It's not like I can just copy and paste a response, because it's someone asking the exact same question.
Right.
So this does give me hope that other people are seeing these numbers, just like the person you mentioned earlier, that people are seeing these numbers. They're waking up to something occurring. And is this, like as mentioned in the movie The Knowing, which I hate comparing stuff to movies, but is it the call?
Right. Wow. All right, brother. This has been great.
You have a lot to think about now.
Yeah, I do. So send me the link when you have it. And it's been great talking to you again.
Yeah, I enjoy it every single time. So yeah, I'll definitely send you the link.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one. Take care.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.